Services to order at 7 o'clock. First, just so that everybody knows what we're doing tonight, if you haven't heard the plan is Personnel and Human Services is going to go first. We're going to be introduced to the newest member of the Attleboro Youth Commission, and then I will recess the committee and come back after we have the special meeting that Council President Cook called for this evening. So that is the plan. That being said, let's introduce Katie Preston. Come on up. So Katie, welcome.
Hi.
Hello. Why don't you tell us what school you go to, what grade you're in, and why you want to be on the Youth Commission, and then I'm going to ask you the question I ask everyone. All right? Go. You're up.
I go to Brennan Middle School. I'm in 5th grade, and I'd like to join the Youth Commission because I'm excited in participating in the river cleanup and the fundraising for the fireworks, and I like that it gives the kids a voice in government.
Excellent answer. I love it. Perfect. So any questions for Katie before I... Yes, Councilor Conti.
So Katie, are you standing up?
Yes.
You want to take the mic so the camera gets a good shot at
They'll
it?
see it.
Katie, what have you done while you've been in Brennan School? Have you participated in any extracurricular activities?
Yes, I am in the drama club's production of Annie.
Oh, wonderful. You are graduating out of the 5th grade this year, and you'll be going into the 6th grade next year. You'll have a new teacher next year,
Yep.
and you'll still be in Brennan School.
Yes.
And next year, the Attleboro Youth Commission will be doing the fireworks program again. And the river cleanup happens every year. But do you think that there's room there for kids to do something besides the fireworks and the river cleanup?
If we really want to.
Very good answer. I like that.
Me too.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Any other questions? So I always ask the question, tell me a little bit about photosynthesis. So are you prepared?
Yes.
All right, so you ready, set, go.
Photosynthesis is the process where plants make their own food using sun, water, and gases.
Yes! Damn, stick it, you did it! That's excellent. So tell me a little bit more. So, tell me what happens as a result of photosynthesis. What goes into the air that we breathe?
Oxygen.
Perfect. Now, I'm going to ask you a really hard one. I'm just kidding. So what I did was I said the first person that can come answer this question gets a prize. So I was home tonight and I said, what's the prize going to be? And I said, oh, these kids are going crazy for these fidget spinner things. Right? So
Schools hate them.
the schools hate them, so don't take them to schools. Your teacher will be mad at me. Is I said, I'm going to give her a light up fidget spinner tonight. And my son said to me, how come she gets one? She gets it right. I know what photosynthesis is. And I said, well, answer it. So he did, and he got one too. But, so the prize tonight is a light up fidget spinner, which is wicked cool. And we'll do something fun with the Youth Commission. I'll talk with Jeremy, I know is involved. Jay Delicio's involved. We'll talk to them and we'll do something special because he answered the photosynthesis question. Then we have to collaborate on what the next question's going to be, right? All right, so there we have it. I am going to...
Cool.
It's so cool that she answered the question. I'm so happy. I can ask something else. It is 7:04. I'm going to recess. She's official. We voted her last week. We don't have to vote this week. So any other questions before Kaden gets the fidget spinner she can drive her parents crazy with at home?
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks. We are recessed at 7:05.
Good luck to you, Katie. Good luck.
What is a fidget spinner, other than I can
I've
see
never
it,
seen
but
a
what
light-up
does
one.
it do? I've never even heard of it before.
Did you?
They say it helps with like ADD.
Fidget spinner.
But it takes 2 hands. You can't. I wanted a 1-hand fidget thing.
Call the special meeting of the Municipal Council meeting of May 9th, 2017 to order. I'd ask that you please stand and join in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I remind you to please turn off your cell phone or similar electronic device or mute it, put it on airplane mode, whatever it is. That will not interfere with our broadcast to other parts of the city. Thank you. As this is, excuse me, as this is a special meeting, I'm going to ask our city clerk, Mr. Steve Withers, to please read the notice for this meeting.
May 5th, 2017, to the members of the Municipal Council from Frank Cook, Council President. Councilors, by authority of Article 2, Section 2-7C of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter, I hereby call a special meeting of the Municipal Council as follows. Tuesday, May 9th, 2017, at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers. The purpose is to rescind vote number 7 of the April 18th, 2017 meeting and vote on the administration's proposed 2017 Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Budget for the CDBG entitlement year beginning July 1st, 2017, and any other matter/legal matter that may come before the council. CC, Mayor Kevin J. Dumas.
Thank you. Now we'll go into a reading of the mayor's communication directly related to this. Please.
May 9th, 2017. Dear municipal councilors, please be advised that additional language is needed in the vote regarding the Community Development Block Grant prior to the submission deadline of May 5th, 2017. Therefore, I respectfully request your honorable body rescind vote number 7 of the April 18th, 2017 meeting regarding the Community Development Block Grant. Additionally, I respectfully submit a communication from Planning and Development Director Gary Arasian regarding the need to approve the administration's proposed program year 2017 Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Budget for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, the proposed program year 2017 Annual Action Plan, the request that the mayor, on behalf of the city of Attleboro, be authorized to submit said CDBG entitlement budget and annual action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on or before May 15th, 2017, and once the final allocation for program year 2017 is released by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Municipal Council approves the administration's increasing or decreasing funds proportionately in each proposed category. In accordance with Article 2, Section 2-9B of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro, I respectfully request your honorable body to consider this as an emergency measure.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, please.
As you are aware, on April 4th, 2017, a communication was sent to your honorable body from City Auditor Deborah Gould requesting that a number of transfers within the school capital projects accounts take place, moving funds into one Attleboro Public School capital projects account. After a recent meeting between the City Auditor, Capital Projects Coordinator, Purchasing Agent, and Mark Furtado from the schools, along with the results of the procurement activity that has taken place since March 27, 2017, the recommendation to move funds into on APS, Attleboro Public Schools Capital Project account, is now being revisited. Therefore, I hereby request the following from your honorable body: to transfer $30,000 from Hill Roberts AC units, other financing uses, to Hyman Fine Hill Roberts boiler, other financing uses. To transfer $10,000 from Hill Roberts AC units, other financing uses, to Brennan Wamsutter boiler, other financing sources. To transfer $20,000 from Willett Media Center AC, other financing uses, to Studley Facade and Entryway, other financing sources. In accordance with Article 2, Section 2-9 of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro, I respectfully request your honorable body to consider this as an emergency measure.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kevin J. Dumas, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Given the urgency, especially in terms of time, of these two items, I've asked representatives of the two departments or groups associated with these to appear before the council during the special meeting to provide additional information, and also if there are any questions the councilors have, that they would be able to ask them at this time, because given the fact that they are emergencies, we will be voting on all these measures, providing that the the votes to declare it an emergency later this evening. So the first one I would ask to come up would be Dorothy Brissett, who's a Community Development Director. You may remember that she was here during the public hearing. She works in the Community Development Planning and Land Use office up here. So good evening and welcome.
Good evening, President Cook. Good evening, members of the Municipal Council. I wanted to thank you all for this opportunity to be before you again, requesting this additional language be added to the previous vote that was taken on April 18th. This language will allow the administration to submit our community development block grant application in a timely fashion during the citizen participation process that we are required to take. There are two methods that we can complete this process with or without a final budget. The method that the city has chosen in previous years and years before me is the first option, which is to present a draft budget to council to open up our 30-day comment period on that draft budget with contingency language that once the final numbers are released, that will allow administration to proportionally increase or increase according to each category. By adopting this method, this allows us to meet our 30-day comment period, and if we become late in the receiving of our final allocation, as we're in the position today, we have the ability to submit our plan by our deadline without any delays, without any requests for any extensions, possibly even a default in our ability to submit any future plans, and there's also no delays in the start of the new program year, which begins on July 1st. So I'm respectfully requesting that council take this into consideration, and I would appreciate that we vote in favor of adding this additional language to that vote.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Councilor Conti.
So the Capital Improvements Committee responded to your presentation by putting forth a measure passing approval for the maximum amount that you received last year.
Correct. Thank you.
And the council then followed through and passed the same measure. We did that assuming that it would free you to get all of your time deadlines going and get done, and that if the number changed, we could amend the motion to change it, or we could rescind the motion and pass a new motion with the new numbers when we have them. But the problem is that May 15th is a Monday, and we meet Tuesday, May 16th.
That's correct.
So, when it was presented to me last week that we probably need to use this new language, I felt uncomfortable because I knew that we had passed a measure that would cover you if you were level funded or anything less. And what I was hearing from you is that you felt that you were going to be level funded or receive less than last year.
Correct.
And since then, you've met with members of the Housing Urban Development Committee in some manner, of which they've told you that maybe you're going to get 5% more or maybe a percentage more than what we had passed. And we don't want to jeopardize the Community Development Department from not being able to use all the money that you can out of helping you use it, because you do such a good job with the money. So this all, for the benefit of the public, this all came to a head last week when I was out of town at a conference. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
And I cannot thank enough Councilor Cook, Mr. President, for stepping in and negotiating with the various entities inside City Hall to come to a resolution, because I could not do that. I just wasn't here. I do believe that the final result that we have, that we're going to put through tonight, is not legal, but I'm going to let it go, because this isn't going to happen again. This is never going to happen again. And we're going to do this a little bit differently next year. So we're going to put your language in tonight. Now, there's one little other factor that I want to make the public know, that we could pass a measure that would take your level funding, add 25% to it, and pass that number. And if you got that amount or anything less, you would be fine and everything would go well. Unless it was 26%, which kicks it out and makes the whole process start all over again.
That is correct.
Yeah, so for the benefit of my councils, I thought we had a simple, easy resolution to this complicated spider's web that we call CDBG funding with HUD. But because we got to where we are, the way we got to where we are, we can't undo the way we did it to get to where we need to be. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, tonight, we're going to put through the language. I'm going to be a good boy and not cause any waves or any trouble. And we're going to let it go, and I'm sure that's going to be acceptable to HUD, but I think it's in violation of the charter, so we're not going to do this again. And I'm sorry for the stress that we might have put into your life in the past week, but I got a feeling that the feds have been doing a better job of that.
Well, yes, considering our final allocation hasn't been released to this point, they're doing a very good job at that, yes.
Yeah. So rest assured, we're going to take care of our end of it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments also. Any other questions or comments at this point while Dorothy's here? Dorothy, is it fair to say that by adding this line, basically the motion when it's presented is what we voted a few weeks ago, but with an additional line dealing with proportional adjustment? So is it fair to attribute that or assess that additional language as more like an insurance policy to make sure that all of our agencies are protected?
It absolutely is an insurance. What would happen if we were to wait for a final allocation is we would have to start the process over again. We have 45 days from the day that the allocation is released. That includes doing a new public hearing, a new comment period, going back to committee, voting it out of committee, getting a final vote from council and submitting it. At that point, HUD has another 45 to 60 days to give us an answer as to whether or not our plan has been approved. Just because a plan is submitted doesn't mean it's approved. Now we're well into July 1. Any costs that are incurred by the agencies or any costs incurred by the city in reference to administration is sort of a risk that the city is taking and a risk that the agencies are taking. HUD could certainly not approve our plan. I've been in the business for 16 years and I've never had a plan not be approved. But certainly considering the timeline and considering how late into this process we are already without a final approval, this language is absolutely an insurance that once the final numbers are released, the next day we can go ahead and submit a plan. And that we don't interrupt any services to our agencies or even our own in-house housing rehabilitation program or the administration of our grant.
Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification. Are there any other questions for Dorothy before take the seat? Okay. Again, thank you for coming in. Thank you for your patience and working this out over the last several days.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. I'd also invite Deb Gould, our city auditor, if she would come up. She's going to address actually the second item that was in the mayor's communication. There's also is under the purview of Councilman Conti's committee that's been dealing with capital improvements. So good evening, Deb.
Good evening. I was here a month and a half ago, and we discussed a proposal that I had sent down through the communication to move all of the money that had been voted in November for capital projects for the schools into one account. The primary reason I had done that back in March was as numbers were starting to come in, it became apparent to me that although in the aggregate there was enough money overall for the projects, there wasn't enough money in the individual projects funded in capital projects for the boilers, but there was sufficient funds in the cooling towers and stuff. I was reluctant at the time to recommend moving money just from the cooling tower into the boilers. In case I really needed more money in the cooling towers, then I would have said, oh, we'll move the money and we'd need to go back. Since March 27th, when I wrote that memo, and as a result of some inquiries from members of the council and some concerns on councilors' parts about, hey, we don't really want to move the money in this fashion, procurement numbers have come in. So a couple of things are still to be bid, and they're still working on some things, but the major projects that needed money, those numbers are in. So the motion that had come down previously to move everything into one account is now, I'm requesting that that be stricken. I know that that's sort of different how that happens. And a new motion only moving what I think is sufficient funds into each of the account from some of the other capital project accounts to actually keep everything separate so everybody will know at the end. You know, if you called and said, what's in this project, I'd be able to tell you that day what's in that project. And I think it satisfies some of the concerns that the councilors had, and you know, if I had known these numbers in March, this would have been the recommendation in March. I just simply didn't know them. So in order to try to expedite the projects in that timetable and not knowing what would have happened and try to save some special meetings and times, that's the recommendation was in March. But it's May, and the numbers have come in, and we have better numbers. Couple of savings. The equipment numbers came in a little bit less than they were originally coming in March, so there's a little bit of savings of about $25,000, which helps to fund the facade program at Studley that they're doing. The new estimate for that project is $50,000 as opposed to $30,000, which it was in the November timeframe. That's the only one that really went up super significantly since then, but a facade number estimated in November to a facade estimate here, I don't think it's really that big, but the architectural numbers are saying it's probably going to be closer to 50. So the matter before you tonight sort of solves what I think the school needs. The other pieces, the relative why it's an emergency, is based on the discussions that I had with the administration and the council office of what the normal protocol would be for timetables and that kind of stuff in order to have enough money in place in the appropriate accounts for me to sign contracts. That's why we've requested it as an emergency measure for tonight. It helps to move things forward for the school, so.
Are there any questions? I'm going to first recognize the chair of the committee, and then I'll recognize Councilor Wilson and Vice President Denley.
And thank you, Deb. I have the same thing to say to you as I said to the last person at the podium. I'm sorry to put you through what you went through last week, but I wasn't here. And I am forever grateful to Councilor Cook for stepping in, which was most appropriate for you to do, and I'm very grateful that you did it. I would have been in your office if I could have, and I would have called you after hours, except there's cocktail hours after conferences. So
We spoke Saturday.
yeah, when you go to a conference, you go to a conference, and that's what I did. I went to a conference. So, Deb, I never got the motion to transfer everything into one pool out of the committee into the council. The committee voted it out because we routinely do that in the city council. We routinely vote things out of committee so that it can be discussed in the council, but I never brought it up to the council floor, so that motion never passed.
Right.
And it didn't pass because there was it was too premature. Now it's the right time. Now we know what we're doing and we know where the money needs to go, and it's the right time to do this. So I'm very happy we did what we did, because now we have fresh air and sunlight and all the budget issues, and that's really what we were all looking for. At least that's the way I saw what we were looking at. And so I took charge and did what I thought was the right thing to do, which is my job. And I do believe we're going to get all the projects done on time, because it's only May. The emergency measure, the public needs to understand, is just a tool to get this passed quickly, because it needs to be done quickly because of the school vacation, not because of the way that we've been discussing this for 6 or 8 weeks, but the fact that now's the time to make the decision to get this done. I do think that the council is in full support of all these projects at the cost that they need to be to get done, and that if anything came down the pipe where there was a change order, where someone discovered something exceptional and there's an extraordinary situation, you're going to see nothing but support from the council. I'm sure that the stabilization fund will be able to take care of anything that comes up. So at all times, we had full faith that the projects would get done. That was never a question. And it was only the manner in which we were trying to get it done. And because it's the responsibility of the council to manage the checkbook, and I use that term frequently because it's the easiest way to explain it, I felt it was the right thing to do what I did, and I don't have any apologies for it, because it's worked out just great. And Mr. President, thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. And thank you also for your other comments. Yeah, just to clarify, the item never really came to a vote before the council. It was voted out of committee, and then in the discussion on the floor, the second was pulled back, and it was actually still, it was not really put back in committee, so we never really voted on it. So it's still, as you'll hear later, when the motion is presented, it'll be the same exact motion that was presented, but then it will then be have to be stricken in order to move on to the next thing. Okay. Councilor Reynolds, Vice President Denley, you're all set?
I'm all set.
Vice President Denley, and then Councilor Hagney?
Yeah,
Mr. Denley?
I just want to thank you, and to actually thank the administration. I feel like you really listened to our concerns. You found a way to still achieve the same end result, but my concerns are alleviated. I know I told you that privately, but I thought that you and the administration deserved accolades for that because this is good government and you have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I concur.
Councilor Hagan.
Thank you, Deb, for always answering our questions. It's greatly appreciated. And also, when you have department heads say she's tough, you know you're doing your job right. You're the auditor. So that means you're doing your job right. And that's why I'm sure Councilor Conte respects everything she has to say, as well as all of us here. And thank you for everything.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I mean, the way that the motion is today really is the preferred way that I would have had it 2 months ago. But in the interest of time and trying to get the projects going, there was some interest in trying to get some of this stuff done earlier. The timetables didn't work out. I'm happy that, I'm happy that you guys are happy. So, and if it didn't work out this way and we needed to do something else and wait and call another meeting, I mean, I know that everybody supported the projects in November. It was just, I was trying to move it along. And the school and capital projects and the purchasing department have been working together to try to get all of this all set and stuff. And it's actually kind of been nice. It's a little bit of cooperative effort with them working together to get some of the bid stuff out and move stuff out. So if there's anything else that you need, just let me know.
Just a big thank you.
All right. Thank you. No.
Are there any other questions for Auditor Gould? Does anybody have any other questions even, they've thought over the last 90 seconds for Dalton Brissett? Okay, so thank you for coming in.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to move on to the committee reports. The only committee that has business before us, so I'm not going to go on to everybody, will be the Capital Improvements and City Development Committee. So I would recognize the chairman, Councilor Conte, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Reporting for capital improvements and city development, I have several motions to bring before you this evening, too many to count. But trust me, we'll walk through them bit by bit. I do think I need signatures, though.
You are welcome. You can get those later to
I'm
me.
just-
I do need a copy, though.
Yeah, I'm going to sign mine and give it to you now.
Okay.
And I'll get the other signatures later. So, from the docket of May 9th, 2017, I move to approve the following emergency preamble, that the City of Attleboro Municipal Council vote to take action as provided in accordance with Article 2, Section 2-9B of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro regarding the emergency which presently exists relative to the mayor's request to rescind Vote 7 in the municipal council meeting that was held on April 18, 2017. Due to the time constraints involved in the nature of the emergency, it makes it necessary to take action without waiting the prescribed time as provided in the city charter, because any further delay would impact the city's ability to fund the proposed agency services, delay future housing rehabilitation projects, and may require to be responsible for staff salary expenses occurred after July 1.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, Mr. President, this is just to establish the emergency preamble, so we're voting on the emergency that currently exists.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to declare, since this does involve the CDBG, and one of the potential fundings of that is the Literacy Center, that I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Literacy Center. I'm also a volunteer tutor there, unpaid, in both positions. But I just needed to disclose that for the record. I've also filed the appropriate paperwork. Are there any questions just on the emergency preamble? Any questions on the emergency preamble? Okay. Hearing none, we will have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Hall. Just as a reminder, this requires a 2/3 affirmative vote for us to move on to the actual emergency measure itself.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Cook?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes. On
Thank
to
you,
the
Mr.
main motion now.
From the docket of May 9th, 2017, I move as an emergency measure to approve the mayor's request to rescind Vote 7 of the municipal council meeting that was held on April 18th, 2017 as follows. 7, voted on roll call, 10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. Cooper absent, to approve the administrator's proposed program year 2017 Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Budget for the CDBG entitlement year to July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, the proposed program year 2017 annual action plan, and the request that the mayor on behalf of the city of Attleboro be authorized to submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development the proposed CDBG budget and proposed activities to be undertaken during the upcoming CDBG entitlement year.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments?
Yes, Mr. President. This measure approves the mayor's request to rescind what we've done, and it's that simple. The mayor's asked us to take away what we've done so far, because coming up is what we're going to do.
Okay.
And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments on this matter? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair. And again, reminder that this requires a two-thirds vote for passage.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
From the docket of May 9th, 2017, I move to adopt the following emergency preamble. That the Attleboro Municipal Council vote to take action as provided in accordance with Article 2, Section 2-9B of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro regarding the emergency which presently exists relative to the mayor's request to approve the administration's proposed program year 2017 Community Development Block Grant Budget. For the period January 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, the proposed program year 2017 annual action plan and the request that the mayor on behalf of the City of Attleboro be authorized to submit said CDB entitlement budget and annual action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development on or before May 15th, 2017, and to approve the administration adjusting category funds proportionally. Due to the time constraints involved, the nature of the emergency makes it necessary to take action without waiting the prescribed time as provided by the city charter, because any further delay could impact the city's ability to fund the proposed agency services, delay further housing rehabilitation projects, and may require the city to be responsible for staff salary expenses incurred after July 1st.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments?
I read it quickly, but it's an emergency preamble. We're just voting on the fact that this is an emergency preamble, and we can get into the details about the rest of it in the next motion.
Okay, thank you.
I urge you to pass the measure. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Again, I'm just going to reiterate my involvement with the Literacy Center, and the paperwork has been provided and verbally disclosed for that matter. Any other concerns or comments on this matter? Hearing none, we will have a roll call vote. Again, a two-thirds vote is required for passage, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hall.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From the docket of May 9th, 2017, I move as an emergency measure to approve the mayor's request to approve the administration's proposed program year 2017 Community Development Block Grant entitlement budget for the CDBG entitlement year July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, the proposed program year 2017 annual action plan, and the request that the mayor, on behalf of the city, be authorized to submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development the proposed CDBG budget and proposed activities to be undertaken during the upcoming CDBG entitlement year. Once the final allocation for program year 2017 is released by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the council approves the administration's increasing or decreasing funds proportionally in each proposed category.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I do have comments.
Okay.
You heard me say that I have issues with the motion, but I'm going to support it. And I urge you to support it as well. Because this is the best way to smoothly get through what we need to get through and get what we want from the United States Housing and Urban Development. I think I can let it go at that. It's the best measure that we've been able to come up with. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Councilor Blair, and again, a two-thirds vote is needed for passage.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I only have 3 more. From the docket of April 18th, 2017, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer funds to the renamed Fund 3420 APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, $40,000 from 3412-599-000 Brennan Wamsutter Roof Repair, other financing uses to 3420-499-000 APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, other financing sources. $120,000 from 3421-599-000 Brennan Wamsutter Boiler, other financing uses to 3420-499-000 APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, other financing sources. $125,000 from 3423-599-000 Wheeler Boiler, other financing uses to 3420-499-000 APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, other financing sources. $30,000 from 3424-599-000 Studley Facade or at Entryway, other financing uses to 3420-499-000-APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, other financing sources. $60,000 from 3425-599-000 Willett Media Center AC Unit, other financing uses to 3420-599-000 APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, other financing uses, and $120,000 from 3426-599-000 Hill Roberts AC Units, other financing uses to 3420-499-000-APS Fiscal Year 17 Capital Projects, other financing sources.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I move to replace the word approve in the first sentence with the word strike.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Thank you. So the motion now is the move to strike what I just read. Because you may have recognized it as I was reading it as the motion that we read 5 weeks ago. And so I urge your passage.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? So again, we have to, in order to move forward with the items that were in the communication and that Ms. Gould had talked to us about, we need to remove this one first, and the cleanest way to do that is to strike it. Okay? So that was a friendly motion. So, are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we're going to have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Hall, and again, this is to strike.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
So, with that motion gone, from the docket of May 9th, 2017, I move to adopt the emergency preamble. That the Attleboro Municipal Council vote to take action as provided in accordance with Article 2- Section 2-9B of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro regarding the emergency which presently exists relative to the mayor's request to transfer monies for capital projects at Hyman Fine, Hill Roberts, Brennan Wamsutter, and Studley Schools. Due to the time constraints involved, the nature of the emergency makes it necessary to take action without waiting the prescribed time as provided in the city charter, so the contracts for services associated with these projects can be executed once finalized through departmental and legal review.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
This is just to establish the emergency preamble, so I urge your passage. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this vote is on the emergency preamble. Again, a 2/3 vote is needed for passage. We'll have a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes,
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Because now we finally have the motion I wish I had the first time. From the docket of May 9th, 2017, I move as an emergency measure to approve the mayor's request to transfer $30,000 from 3426-599-000 Hill Roberts AC Units, other financing uses to 3420-499000 Hyman Fine Hill Roberts Boiler, other financing sources. $10,000 from 3426599000 Hill Roberts AC Units, other financing uses to 3421-499000 Brennan Wamsutter Boiler, other financing sources. And $20,000 from 3425-599000 Willett Media Center AC, other financing uses to 3424-499000 Studley Facade and Entryway, other financing sources.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, Mr. President. So you recall 6 weeks ago, we transferred $435,000 from the stabilization fund into the specific projects for all of the 4 boilers, 2 AC units, the facade, and I forget what the other one was, but we did that all right. Everything went as planned, with the exception that the boilers were costing more than we thought, and luckily, the AC units are costing less. And I now feel assured that we have all the measures in place to manage these projects. And that concludes my comments.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilor Hall, and again, this requires a 2/3 vote for passage.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
9 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
That concludes the business that the Capital Improvements and City Development Committee has to bring before the council this evening. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all for your patience. It's been quite a week.
And Councilor Conley, I want to thank you for your work on this and getting it through the process tonight. Do you want me to pass it along to Councilors Reynolds and Cooper to sign, or do you want to take care of that?
I can honestly say that I couldn't have done this without you, President Cook. You were a tremendous help this week, and the Saturday phone calls with the administration were a help. When I returned from my conference, my machine was all lit up, and I do understand that in government, nothing is simple, everything is complicated. And when something falls out of routine, it gets more complicated, and it gets more delayed, and it gets sometimes chaotic. And I appreciate your intervention. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I have these signed. Do you want this? Or?
Here, you can have this.
Okay.
And, you
You
can
can
have
hold on
both.
to that. I'll
You
pass
just
this
signed
one.
it.
You just signed it, so we're all set for now, so I'll turn that in, so. So that does, I do want to thank you all for your attention tonight. That does conclude all of the business regarding the special meeting. We're going to be moving on to the committee reports in just a minute. I did want to recognize that in the appearing before the council tonight, we already had one guest before Mr. Cooper's committee. There will be 2 other guests. There will be let's see, we have Anna Furtado, the school's financial genius, who will be here. I'm not sure if, I see Ms. Gould still sitting, I'm not sure if she's going to be participating or not. And also from the office of our new city solicitor Lauren Galvin, who will be appearing also later before some of the committees. So I just wanted to formally welcome you. Before I relinquish the chair, what committees are canceling tonight? Anybody planning to cancel the committee meeting?
Capital Improvement City Development is gleefully canceled tonight.
Okay.
On behalf of Mr. Delicio, I'm going to cancel ordinances. However, I'd like to call for an ordinance committee meeting next Tuesday at 6 p.m. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Next Tuesday, 6 p.m.
I knew he was going to be doing that. Thank you for taking care of that. And Councilor Reynolds, did you want to cancel for Ms. Praker? I know she is not going to be here tonight, and she was also talking about maybe doing a committee meeting next week, but she's not sure. But did she give you anything?
I actually saw her earlier today, and she didn't ask me to bring one up for next week, but,
Right.
you know, she did say to cancel this, she
Okay.
was going to cancel this evening, but transportation was going to be canceled this evening.
Okay, so you'll cancel that on her behalf then?
Pardon me?
You've canceled on her
Yes.
behalf? Okay, good. Anybody else canceling tonight? Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, so again, that concludes all the business for the special meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned at 7:46. Thank you, Mr. Withers, for being here.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you for all your attention to that.
I do.
Trying to get through it in record time.
45 minutes? That wasn't bad.
Not too bad. I could discuss one of those motions for at least an hour.
Committee on Licenses to order at 7:49. I have one quick motion. Mr. Conti will be my second. From the docket of May 2nd, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the 2017 new Class 2 license from New England Automax, Inc., 800 Washington Street, Attleboro, Mass., for 40 customer parking spaces and 60 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. The nice gentleman came before us last week. We were able to ask him questions. I have his site plan, I have his bond, and his application, and it all looks to be in good order. Are there any comments or questions?
You know, I'm still amazed that you can fit 100 cars, how they get them all the site plan right in there. But it's nice. Thank you for all your hard work.
They engineer it so that those cars can all fit like little Tetris pieces.
In this case, it's 40.
It's
Oh,
100,
sorry.
it's 40 and
100.
60, yeah.
100.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, 40 and 60, you're right.
All right.
That's okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That's all the business I have for tonight. I'd like to move to adjourn at 7:50.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, when you were counting the cars, did you see how they move them? And they-
So 7.
Nope, it's 7, excuse me, 7:51. Okay, I have two motions tonight. The first motion is from the docket of May 2nd, 2017. I entertain a motion to accept 4 streets as listed below. Downing Drive Extension, 17,000 feet, I guess that is 1217 feet. Stone Forest Lane, 410.12 feet. Field View Circle, 316.25 feet, and Springdale Avenue Extension, 1,688.52 feet. All the streets have been reviewed and approved by our performance guarantees. They have been released by the planning board, subject to MGL Chapter 41 subdivision control law and its rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land as amended, and there was a public hearing. Whoops, excuse me. Oh, I guess I'm not voting on that motion. No? Okay, so I'm calling for a public hearing, excuse me, scheduled for June 6, 2017.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we are scheduling a public hearing for June 6th. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any nays? No. Okay, sorry, and sorry for the confusion there.
Can I just ask a point of order?
Yes,
Again, I was doing something else. What item were you calling for a public hearing on?
looks like there's a public hearing on the streets, but I thought that had already come up before.
I believe we already did call for that public hearing when it came down.
I don't know if you call for it, Frank.
I believe we did.
You gotta have one to accept the streets. We've always
Right, but I believe that we did. Hold on a second.
Doesn't hurt to have
called
two.
for two at the same
All right, what was the docket of, the docket of what now?
Docket of May 2nd.
May 2nd.
Okay, hold on. I thought we had called for the one, but I just want to make sure.
When it comes down.
Oh, we're just reinforcing it.
Sure.
Public hearing.
A second call.
Yeah,
That's
but the
right,
difference
June
is,
2nd, call number
but the
two.
difference is that Ken doesn't have to call
3
for,
times, and we're really
Ken
doing
doesn't
it.
have to call for a public hearing. It wasn't April 2nd. I don't think it was May 2nd, I think it was April 18th.
Yeah, it should be under the May 2nd.
I think it was April 2nd, but I think it was the, I think it came out of the communication of the 18th. I think. Yeah, we called for a public hearing already. We called for the public hearing on April 18th, and it's for June 6th.
Okay, very good. So,
So you don't have to do it again.
nope, just for clarification, everybody, we're having a public hearing on June 6th to talk about these streets. Thank you very much. I do have a motion from the docket of April 18th. I entertain a motion that the municipal council provide a letter of non-opposition to BCWC Inc. relative to their proposed registered marijuana dispensary to be located at 34 Extension Street.
Point of order?
Second.
Yep, sorry.
Shouldn't the motion for the council to sign a letter come after the public hearing?
If I may.
Yes?
No, actually, part of the, and the city solicitors here will probably, and we'll be talking about this at some point, but one of our requirements of a special permit application is that the applicant has to provide a certificate of registration from the Mass Department of Public Health. They actually have to get that letter, they have to request a letter from us before they go to the state. So in some respects, they needed to get that letter first.
For their special permit application.
Right.
I didn't understand.
So, and that's part of the reason that, that Ms. Hall, if I may speak for her, wanted the city solicitor to be here tonight.
So the motion's
was to
in
kind of
order.
explain a lot about, since it's the first time around, there are some it's new to us, number one, but also just in terms of some of the things that have to be, procedurally. She's not here to talk about the special permit application. We haven't started the public hearing, but more the procedures associated with it, because this is all new to us, and we have to make sure we do it the right way.
Okay, so do I get a second?
Second.
Thank
You
you.
did, from
Thank you, I
Council
did.
Cooper.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we do have our city solicitor, Laura Galvin, right here.
Yes.
To talk to us about, and we're going to talk just about process and just about what the differentiations are between these letters that are needed. Can't talk about content because, of course, we have a public hearing coming up. So thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Attorney Lauren Galvin, and on behalf of myself and my firm, I'd like to thank you all very much for the opportunity to work once again with the city. I worked under Bob Mangiarotti for about 10 years for the city, so it's been a great pleasure to get back in touch with many city officials I worked with before and have the opportunity to work with those people again. And I've really been enjoying my time here back at the city. We also have other members of the team that were able to step right back in. Karis North is doing some environmental work for the Conservation Commission case, and Attorney Dave DeLuca from our office is handling a license to carry case with the chief. So we're thrilled to be back with you all, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight to meet some of you and to see many of you again. So really quickly, I've just been asked to go briefly over the process and why we're here tonight in terms of this motion. We've received an application under our special permit ordinance for a registered marijuana dispensary. The way I see it is there's 5 steps that are basically in front of us right now. Step 1 is the letter of non-opposition or support. This letter, at the same time that the registered marijuana dispensary is applying here in the city, they also need to be applying with the state to get state licensure, and that's called the certificate of registration. As a part of that application process, they need a letter from the host community, which is either a letter of non-opposition or support. They mean the same thing. And I apologize that I'm losing my voice tonight. My timing's a little off with this, but I'm doing my best here. So the letters mean the same thing to the state. It's just up to you which way you wanted to call the letter. That's step 1. Step 2, in conjunction with that, would be,
Sorry. So when we're looking at developing a letter of non-opposition,
yes.
Is there a legal threshold that we need to hit, or is it just like the feel of the council? What are we supposed to be looking at?
It's the letter of non-opposition is just a boilerplate letter that the state has put together. It's 3 sentences long, and it just basically says that the municipal council has voted to either support or has no opposition. That's all it is to them coming into the community. Then the applicant has to send that letter in with their application to the state for their certificate of registration.
Do you know how many votes a letter of non-opposition requires?
It would be a simple majority because it doesn't specify any where else otherwise. Thank you very
And
much.
then would it also require a mayor's signature? It would go through the whole process.
It does not require a mayor's signature. It's an or. Either the city council could issue it or the mayor could issue it. I think here in the city where you have the, you're in charge of the special permit, it probably makes sense to keep that all together because if you're going to issue, if you didn't want to issue the letter of support, it sort of all goes together. So, but that's discretionary. Either one will do for the state.
Just one more, and I promise to be quiet. If a counselor wanted to not support a letter of non-opposition,
Yes.
what would adequate legal reasoning for not supporting a letter of non-opposition be?
There's not really any law on this. This was something that was established later on by regulation by the Department of Public Health to just give whole municipalities, give them a little more control and a little bit more, pull them into the process more, make sure it was the type of community that wanted this type of thing. Of course, the Attorney General with medical marijuana told us that we are not allowed to ban medical marijuana. That was a couple years ago with the Wakefield decision. Wakefield tried to ban medical marijuana and through a bylaw. And town's bylaws go through the Attorney General, and the Attorney General said that was not legal because it's medical. That was the reasoning. Now already with the new law, the recreational law, which is causing all sorts of issues and questions because it's a little bit, the drafting wasn't as what we might have liked. But already the AG has approved bans on recreational. That just happened about a month ago. North Reading voted at their town meeting to ban recreational. So you're not allowed to ban medical, but you are allowed to ban recreational. And that's brand new law. The question still remains whether you need just town meeting or city council action to ban recreational, or you need a ballot question as well. The law is unclear and state agencies can't actually agree or decide what's needed, but that's the difference.
This application's for medical though, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We're only talking about medical tonight.
But they still need the letter of non-opposition.
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's correct. Okay, so just really briefly, I'm gonna,
If we
oh,
could-
yeah, of course.
I think we have some questions to follow up
Okay.
on his question.
Okay, hold on. So who's,
I think it was Council
okay,
Cooper.
so you're not asking a
And
question?
I do have a question.
You do have.
But I'll wait for
Thank you
Council
so
Cooper.
much. Councilor Cooper, go ahead. Thank you.
Lauren, so, my struggle with this is that it seems to me to be the cart before the horse,
Yes,
right? So I
yes.
think you need to sort of explain that a little better to
Yes.
us, because what I'm feeling is you're not you, I'm saying
yes,
you,
I
but I
understand.
don't mean you particularly. In this case, we're asking for a letter of non-opposition or support.
Yes.
But haven't fully vetted what it is exactly is going to be there. And as we all know, with these projects, when they come before us, there are things that change, and whether it's the size of the building, we want a different sign, we want different parking, we want different lighting. The security system isn't what we intended it to be after the chief reviews it. That doesn't
Yes.
do this, it doesn't do all the things that were within the ordinance, and those things change. And so are we to do that based on what we see in the application? Because we haven't heard from them
No.
yet. So it's,
Why don't we just hold questions for 2 minutes so I can lay out the 5 steps, and then it will make more sense.
okay.
It is a little confusing that you've already received your special permit application before your request for the letter of non-opposition. That is a little confusing, but I'll just lay out the steps really quick. So generally what would happen is first you'd get your request for your letter of non-opposition or support. Step 2, generally when municipalities issue that letter, they are entitled to enter into a host agreement or a community benefit agreement, which is basically a contract that gives the municipality money for giving the letter of non-support. And every municipality is doing this. I know the applicant sent over a draft agreement, so that would be step 2. Step 3 would be the special permit application. And once a special permit application is received, you need to open the hearing within 65 days. Then you hold the hearing. That's when we take in all the testimony. That's when we get the fire chief in here. That's when we get, all the input we want. We have a very robust ordinance. We go through the criteria of our ordinance. It's a special permit hearing, so it's under zoning. 48 section, I know usually you don't all deal with that, but it's just the way your particular ordinance is written. The city council controls these special permits. I know generally your zoning board or your planning board controls your special permit, but in this particular case, the city decided, because it's sort of a sensitive topic, that this is the city council special permit. But you will be following zoning when we get to that stage, when we get to the hearing on the special permit. We are not there yet. Because we received the application and we didn't want to get burned by the 65-day deadline to open the hearing and end up with a constructive grant, which would be, they just get their special permit and we don't get to put in all the criteria that we need. What we did was we opened the hearing. I know you already did that. You opened the hearing, and then the applicant requested a continuance, because I've been talking with him about how this letter of non-opposition is missing, so, it just doesn't make sense. So that is why it was done that way, and we consulted with your planner, Gary Arazian, because basically you want to do it the same way you do other special permit hearings in the city. You want to follow that sort of the process, and you will use your zoning bylaw to determine whether they have met all the criteria. Like you're saying, safety is in your ordinance is long, and it covers safety and all of sighting and setback and all of that. That will all come up at the public hearing. Then the final step will be the public hearing will be closed, and you will have 90 days to issue your written decision. And then that decision can be conditioned in any way you want, in any legal way you want under zoning. And this all follows under the Zoning Act. to Chapter 40A and Section 9 for special permits. So, and I'm happy to come back. Tonight, I'm just here to lay out sort of the 5 steps and tell you why it is a little confusing. And we've opened this public hearing. That's because we didn't want to get a constructive grant. But now we're stepping back. And I did call the attorney for the applicant, Attorney Kenyon, who I know has already been here. And I told him, you know, we can't really move forward on your application until you get the ball rolling further with the state. So the letter of non-opposition or support has to do with the state license, not your special permit. It's completely separate. So once he gets that letter from you, then he can go to the state, and there's 5 phases he has to go through the state, and there's a million different things he has to do with the state that are completely separate, but in addition to your special permit process.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
So, Attorney Galvin,
Yes.
I have issues with
Yes.
our applicant, as you can see the red marks on my
Yes.
host agreement. So, how as a counselor can I get my issues addressed? Because I'm guessing the boilerplate letter of non-opposition that you have cannot be altered.
Yes. Generally, you just use the three sentences that the state requires in the letter. But that this letter doesn't have anything to do with the application that's in front of you. It's just basically saying, we don't oppose you applying to come into our community. You will be able to.
If I can interrupt you?
Yep, go
I
ahead.
feel that way, subject to our agreement on the host agreement.
Okay, and the host agreement is tethered to the,
So I would want to put into that
Yes.
boilerplate letter of non-opposition that my signature is there, subject to my acceptance of the host agreement.
I don't think that's a problem, because basically that's how it's been working.
Good.
Yes.
And I have the same question
Yes.
about, thank you. So, I mean, I have read the host agreement, and I have some, yeah, I mean, I've read a number of host agreements also.
Me too.
And so we want to make sure that we say for this to go forward, that we would find ourselves in the most beneficial place that we can for the city of Attleboro. And
I
what
agree.
we want to do in the city of Attleboro. So I agree that somehow I mean, I know that they've written it,
Yes.
but we need to somehow undo that, if you would, in our language about the non-opposition letter, to say that we're just strictly giving this, and that we are not in concurrence with any of the other information. Yes.
Madam Chair, if I can interrupt, because
Certainly.
you're addressing my issue.
Sorry.
What I would request is that the letter of non-opposition state that our signatures appear subject to our approval of the host agreement. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, and I think that we're going to have, there's a lot of agreements we're going to have to go through that we are, and I think the concern is that we don't want to be subject to any of these other things. People want to understand that we're not subject to any of these things, approving the special permit, doing anything else, just by this letter. Is that
No,
correct?
no.
Gotcha. President Cook, sir.
Thank you, Councilor.
then Ms.
In addition to, I just want to make a couple comments relative to the point that Councilor Conti has brought up. In addition to the things that we're dealing with as part of the special meeting tonight, this is one of the things that's been taking a tremendous amount of time over the last, 6-8 weeks. Before we got the application, the applicant was sending things to me on some general information, saying what they're going to do. And I don't know how many times that, Attorney Galvin and I have met to go over some of this. My understanding is in terms of like on the letter, and the sample letter was provided by the applicant. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that, as opposed to, and maybe we can change this, but that the only signature that's required would be, the presiding officer of the council, or in my absence, the vice president. We wouldn't all be signing it. I know on other resolutions, we oftentimes will sign it. But again, I'm not sure if it comes down to that it would only be one person signing it on behalf of all, whatever. That's number one. The second thing is, in terms of the host agreement, just as a reminder, to all of us, basically the host agreement is a contract. The contract is something that are entered into and signed by the administration, not by the council. So, one of the questions that I have that, I'm still looking for some guidance on, and probably some of you have already also thought about this, is just how much input do we as a council have? Because at some point we will have to, my understanding is, we are going to have a vote as we do on other contracts, to authorize the mayor to actually sign, to sign the agreement. But how much input we're going to have on that, and again, as some of you who are veterans may very well know, we sometimes sit here and have to approve a contract that was negotiated by others, and it was already signed, and our only job is, we had to approve it, we get no input. I'm not sure how much input we're going to have on this particular matter, but again, this is part of the reason why, it's very beneficial to have the attorney here tonight, since we're just starting this process, because it is very long, very complicated, and we got to make sure procedurally, obviously, that we do it the right way too. So,
Mr.
If I could follow up on your comments.
Follow up, and then Mr. Cooper.
Mr. President, how can the municipal council impress upon the administration that if it wants our support, that there should be communication about what goes into the agreement? How does that happen?
I think part of this is.
I think I just did it, yes.
Well, I think number one, obviously in a forum such as this, we're getting that out there. But by the same token, the legal counsel will obviously be reviewing this as with all other contracts. So, I'm thinking that in terms of, the dialogue between us and the administration and our own legal representation in this, is one way to do it. But again, as I said, that's one of the questions I have, is just how much input we have and how do we do that. As I said, over the last several weeks, just trying to read over the laws and try to get, as Attorney Galvin will can testify. I've done a lot of these like what ifs, and how do we go about doing this, and so forth. So again, that's the beauty of having the attorney here tonight, is we need to make sure that we understand what we're being asked to do, because this process is going to take a long time. As she mentioned, once the public hearing is closed, it's 90 days for us to make a decision. We are not going to close that public hearing on June 6th, probably, because they're not going to have everything in by that time. So this is going to be extended a long time.
If I could interrupt you, my concern falls on whether or not we do something that unintentionally obligates us to something else. Like, for example, we've opened up the public hearing, we probably shouldn't have done that.
Well, we had no choice in it, as you just mentioned, to avoid that. Once they filed the application, where the clock started running, as it does in the
have to have the public hearing.
Yes, just like in the zoning, similarly, you were in zoning, I was in planning, Mark was on Concom and planning. The same thing happens, the clock started running at that point, so we had to open it. And again, Mr. Rajan was involved with when it first came up, and it's like, we haven't got the request for the letter, but they filed a special permit. So we're following basically what zoning, planning, and this. I'm just not sure, by the way, in the letter, if we can add any condition, such as you've talked about, depending upon, the host community agreement. I don't know if we can add that to that letter.
So I'd be happy to check that with the state,
please.
because I don't know that for certain.
Because Attorney Galvin, here's my issue, is that
Yes.
for over 6 weeks, a constituent has been contacting me because this person lives in Attleboro and his job is negotiating host agreements between
Yes.
registered marijuana dispensaries.
Yes.
And he's calling me an alarmist enthusiasm that he hasn't heard anything about a host agreement for Attleboro. And I didn't hear anything about host agreement for Attleboro. And then today, I finally at lunchtime read the BMG revised booklet and saw the host agreement and said, oh, no.
Right. No, because that's only round one. That's their draft to us.
And we're gonna go to Mr.
We most certainly need to go back and advocate for more money. There's several things I think that need to come out of there, and I think we should negotiate for more money, because that's just the starting point.
If I may follow on his point, on that community host agreement, although they were talking about it didn't appear, it didn't appear till last Tuesday. Or Monday, whatever the day was, Monday, Tuesday, last
yes.
week. That's when we got it for the
It
first
came
time.
with the
Okay,
the
so
letter.
we're going to stop. Counselor Cooper has it, and I'd
Thank
love
you.
to give the floor to Counselor Cooper.
I think that the letter of non-opposition, the host agreement is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. What's in the host agreement is irrelevant. Because what she said was that and I'm happy to have misunderstood, what she said was that the letter of non-opposition should have come and would have come in normal circumstance before the application. So you and me would have never had this application to consider. What we should have been doing was sitting here as a municipal council, whether we wanted this in the city of Attleboro or not. That's the only thing we should be asking ourselves tonight, because I feel like we're going down a very slippery slope in terms of what could be perceived by the applicant if they don't get what they want, which is a letter of non-opposition or support, so they can proceed with the Department of Public Health. If we don't do that in a way that appears that we are not considering their application and then considering the letter of opposition or non-opposition or support, it's getting squirrely to me. So to me, I'm not even, not thinking about what I read, what I liked, what I didn't like in the application. It's whether or not I, as a city councilor, think that we ought to consider a medical marijuana facility in the city of Attleboro. That's the question I'm asking myself, not the details
Yeah.
of their application, because they haven't had an opportunity to come before us
And I
and
think you're
tell
right.
them the
And that's why we have to limit conversations other to just what's on the table right now, which is the letter of support, non-opposition. And I appreciate that, because that's right on line. We cannot and should not be having any discussions about host agreement letters at this point in time. Although I understand, but I think that Mr. Cooper hit the nail on the head. That's what we're looking at right now. Nothing more, nothing less. Councilor Reynolds, I'm sorry.
So, I'm along with Mark, but I mean, it's really, this letter is just us allowing them to move forward with the state.
Yes.
That's all it is. I mean,
Yes.
it's got nothing to do with whether we end up saying yes to it or anything. It's basically, we're saying, okay, we're signing this, this gives you the chance now to go to the state and do what you have to do. That's it. So, I mean, I think we're making a big deal out of something that really is a very minor deal. Yes, it's just a small.
So,
Yes.
Attorney Galvin,
Yes,
to Councilor Cooper's point,
Yes.
this council passed a zoning ordinance
Yes.
allowing registered marijuana dispensaries to exist in the city.
yes,
And this council found a way in our laws to allow them to come. So it would follow that we would sign a letter of non-opposition.
would follow. But I do agree with your comment that I think we should put something in there subject to the host agreement being executed. And maybe you could even delegate that to the mayor if that's appropriate, because generally those two things go together. The host agreement and the letter of non-opposition. And
That
then the
makes
special
me very
permits are
happy,
here.
Attorney Galvin. That makes me very happy.
Okay,
We have to keep it limited to only the, okay. So, Councilor Delicia.
Sorry for my tardiness. I was actually listening to the meeting in the car via Bluetooth. So, Councilor Conti, you bring up a lot of points I agree with. I do appreciate the way you broke down the 5 points.
okay.
So my question is, when it comes to this letter, it's either a letter of
Support or non-opposition.
Correct.
They mean exactly the same thing to the state.
So the letter of support to me sounds, it's like, hey, we haven't really gone
Yes.
over your application yet, but we're supporting this. Do we have any say in which form that letter takes?
You can do either one. You could do the non-opposition letter or the support letter. It's just basically the title of the letter, and it's the same boilerplate language.
I did read just so you know, I did read the motion as a letter of non-opposition and not a letter of non-support. So it was clearly
that-
said non-opposition.
And that's fine.
And what I would like is just to take President Cook's comments from earlier and Councilor Conti's and see what's the process when we get to that host agreement, that the council has either a seat at that table or at least a liaison.
That's a great question. I would say probably you'd probably want to delegate it to the mayor and then maybe approve it afterwards. I mean, maybe a vote to do that, do it that way?
Sure. I mean, that's, at all of these meetings and in all the council committees, the committee chair takes input. Okay? So I'm going to first ask not to really send me any input until after the public hearing, but truly send me input after that public hearing, and I'd be happy to draft something up, our proposal as best we can, and present that to all of us, if that's sufficient. But again, I know I'm trying to stay off that slippery slope. So if that's sufficient for everybody, given this discussion, unless there's more about the letter itself.
Thank you for coming. I just had one question. was trying to write down everything too, is how many days from the public hearing, I know we have to keep it open.
Yes.
From the public hearing when it's closed for the decision, did you say 90 days, 60 days?
So there's basically 3 time periods. 65.
Correct, but how many from the public hearing closed do we have
90.
for a decision?
Written decision 90 days
Okay,
from the
thought 90
close
days.
of the public hearing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I understand, I just
you
wanted to know,
can, you can
90
keep
days.
continuing it until
Okay.
you close it.
Just once it's closed,
90 days.
90 days, okay, thank you.
That's very important because they'd get a
Yep.
constructive
Yep.
grant.
Thank you. Yes.
So this is about the host agreement.
Yes.
So,
Oh, the host agreement?
yes.
We're talking about just the letter of non-opposition, not the host
Well,
agreement.
but they have to come together, right?
No, they do not. No.
Can you clarify that I'm wrong?
I mean, they're 2 separate documents, but I think what we were going to do is put something in the letter of non-opposition that said subject to the execution of the host agreement. So that would be step 2. Step 1, letter of non-opposition. Step 2, host agreement. As long as we have that language in our letter to, I think,
That's
keep
good.
the door.
And I want to also piggyback on, we've spent a lot of time, as other towns and cities have not. A lot of these other towns and cities that are not prepared to sign these things didn't do as much due diligence as we had done on our ordinance.
Yes.
And, I'll be honest with you, I think doing that was the right thing to do, because now we can sort of mold the way we want things to go, where my fear is that other cities and towns are pretty much going to be told how things are going to happen at some point in time, just my own speculation, and
I think you're
that's
right.
just me, so.
You're right.
Your
so-
ordinance is very robust.
Yes, we did a great job, and so I think that's, we're ready, and so that's a good point that we're, yes, Mr. Belize, Councilor Blaze.
I personally don't think that anything about that host agreement should be in the letter to go to the state. Because basically, we're putting a condition on that letter. So I don't know how the state's gonna accept that, or they will accept it.
Well, we're going to find out.
Well, I would make sure that the state isn't gonna
Right.
say, oh, wait a minute, you're not accepting it till you get a deal done. It seems like it's a pressure point.
Yeah, well, we're going to check
Kind of put the
that.
pressure on is after they get their permit from the state.
So the 2 things I think we're looking at and checking is, number 1, if we don't put something in there, does that make us vulnerable to the host agreement, in which case we'd have some difficulties with that necessarily, but it sounds like that's not going to happen. Is that correct? That we are not subject to the host agreement if we approve this?
Well, we know we haven't entered into it. The host agreement would be a separate
Gotcha,
contract
okay,
and
so,
negotiation.
okay, so that we know, so good.
Yes.
So the second thing is, do we want to put something in there? Is it, legally okay to put something in there? That's.
Yes, I
got
have
it.
to check that. Maybe we
Okay,
could just.
so that's still the one that's open. What's not open is that we're not subject to the host agreement if we do what we have to do tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Dissing.
Just first statement to the chair. I know recently New Bedford and Providence recently opened similar types of dispensaries.
Fall River.
I don't think it went through in Fall River. I think, or it's in the process. But what I would recommend is potentially we look at what their letters of non-support were.
Absolutely.
And maybe we could forge it a little bit after that. Just for a point of clarification. So the letter of non-support, of support or non-opposition, it's not binding the city to anything. It's
No.
not binding the city to saying, hey, we're gonna do this. All it does is saying, we're not going to oppose you applying to the state for this license.
Correct, no, it does not bind you to the draft host agreement they've sent to you, that has not been negotiated yet. It does not bind your hands in any way to issue the special permit. That's a completely separate process, and they will have to meet the criteria and prove it at a public hearing before, and that's separate.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, and again, when the time comes for the public hearing, as you know, I will give you so much information that you always get from me that you'll just hate me. And I've already, looked up some of the things. I have a list of every city and town that is in process or has one of these things. It's actually on the website. If you look it up under the Mass State website, you can pull it up and it'll tell you where every city and town is in the process with this and who actually has some active dispensaries. So I'll just leave you there right now, and I will provide you with information, but we're not going to do that until the public hearing takes place. Yes, President Kelly.
Relative to procedures, when we get to, the public hearing on the 6th of June, again, there's certain information that they will be providing to us. Now, sometimes when we have a public hearing, I will ask, as you all know, the chair, shall we continue this to another time? Conversation I have with the city planner, Gary Arazian, said that under 40A, if there's going to be a continuation, I can't, or the presiding officer, so Mr. Denley, if it's you, cannot just say, well, we'll continue this to the next meeting. It has to be to a specific date, and it has to be, the applicant has to basically, request it or be part of that process, and even though that person may stand at the podium and verbally request it, it would behoove us to obviously get it in writing as a follow-up, because potentially this hearing could be kept open for several months. And accordingly, we don't want it to be in a situation where every week, well, is there anybody else here to speak? And they're coming in dribs and drabs and all that. So it will be, any continuation, it will be to a specific date. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that, going forward. And, maybe it will be, we'll say, hey, we'll pick the first regular meeting of every month, or the third, or whatever it happens to be. But it has to be to a specific date. So I just want you all to be aware of that. Thank you.
Yes, Council.
Madam Chair, thank you for bringing this motion out tonight, and thank you, Attorney Galvin, for baptism by fire into the council. I want you to know that I will be supporting this measure when it comes to the council. I just want to put some closure to this, so that you know where things are in your committee meeting. That I think because we did work so hard on what has been termed a robust zoning ordinance for the registered marijuana dispensaries, I feel I speak with my fellow councilors in support of a letter written, signed by the presiding officer that states our non-opposition to a registered marijuana dispensary in the city of Attleboro. And I would encourage you to put this through the council the next available time, so that Attorney Galvin can either use the boilerplate or use the boilerplate with the condition on the host agreement. If that doesn't make it into it, I don't want to jeopardize anything at the state level, so I'll support it whether it has that or not. I'd like to see it in there, but your motion has my support when it comes out to the full council. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any additional questions, comments? Thank you, everybody, for your input. I know this is something we do need to be talking about and making sure we understand very carefully that we don't misstep here. So I agree totally with all the concerns that came out, and hopefully everybody's been able to voice their opinion. If any other questions come out at all, please do email me, and I'll research this. I'll get with the solicitor, and we'll try to figure out. I think at this point in time, all we're really talking about is the letter, but I'm sure there'll be many more questions as we go forward. So, given that, I'd like to take a vote on this motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays from my, no. Okay, so the motion passes unanimously, and that ends the business of the zoning and land use. I'd like to call for an adjournment at, ooh, that one kind of long. 8:30. So, all in favor? Hello, committee.
Yes. Where's your gavel when you need it?
That, I guess that's a yay. Okay, we're adjourned at 8:30. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, no. Who's got?
I'm going next.
So, Mark, you're next?
You know, I'm going to do all these notes. That's okay.
That's the beauty of the internet.
I know.
I can't believe Jay was listening to us on Bluetooth.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
That's what Mark did
Really?
during the contentious meeting.
Yeah,
Boy, am I behind.
I know, I can figure out how to do that.
Right on my cell phone.
right on your phone.
Wow.
We need new seats, can we please?
Bring some WD-40 in.
I need some WD-40.
No, we need new seats. So I am going to call Personnel and Human Services back to order at 8:30. Tonight, we have guests. One, I have Mark Furtado here to talk specifically about the bus contract, but also I did ask Mark Mark and Deb some questions about the other motion in the committee, so I did ask Deb to stay. So, Mr. Furtado, if you want to come up, we'll talk specifically about the bus contract, then we'll do the other motion in my committee regarding the transfer. So, Mr. Furtado, thank you for coming. Thank you for your summary in email. And if you don't mind sort of summarizing that again around the things that I asked were, that I thought were absent from the contract that you explained in your email were the fuel surcharge, the late bus,
The age of the buses.
the age of the bus, and
And then some equipment that we
that's right.
changed.
Yep. And I wrote it down, I'm sorry. Somewhere. Fuel surcharge, late buses. Oh, and activity-based busing. You know, that's go and take them to a football game in a neighboring community, those types of things that I didn't see specifically called out in the contract missing. So you want to touch on those 3 points, but before he does, I want to tell you all, this is the, Mark, I'm sure you remember it, because I think you gave it to us. So I went through and dug for some stuff this weekend, and I found that. I found the original contract, and if we had done the 3-year with 1-year extensions for a total of 7 1-year extensions for a total of 10 years, we would have been paying about $101 more per bus had we entered into that versus what's before us tonight.
That's
So
interesting.
I want you to understand that there was a reason why they picked the contract that they picked with the 1-year, the 5-year total, which we're now at the end of, which brings us to tonight's discussion. Thank you, Mark, for coming. It's all you.
The contract before you, for your consideration, is essentially the same contract I've used here historically. We made some changes. One important one has to do with the age of the buses. We asked for 2015 buses. There's a lot of reasons for that. We didn't ask for brand-new buses because the cost of that would be unreasonable. You don't need brand-new buses to have reliable transportation for the students. And you have to understand the contract is going to go hopefully for 5 years. So we would be in 2022 at the end of this agreement. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So, a bus that's a decade old can get a little ratty for students and families. A vendor is going to invest in capital equipment once in the course of a contract, or else it's cost prohibitive to do that. You have a wide variety of vendors. You have smaller companies and larger companies. Larger companies would have large fleets, and if you don't specify a year, if you did something like the fleet would have to average, 3 years old, a vendor with a large fleet could stuff some new buses in there because they're going to buy them anyway, and then stuff a whole bunch of old buses in there, and you wouldn't want that either. So to provide a level playing field, make sure everybody's bidding on the same business, you want to make sure you have reliable equipment for the life of the contract, so not bleeding edge, and at the same time, you make sure everybody is doing the same thing, because that's the primary cost. It's that and the people. So that's why we specified 2015. Those will be probably off-lease vehicles or leftovers. The model year for buses is 1 year ahead, sort of like cars. So we're in 17 now, and this will start in September. If they were to buy brand new buses, those would be model year 2018. So the 15 buses will be coming right off lease, probably purchased at a really good price, which resulted in our per diem being a very, very reasonable number going into the contract. So that was the first component. The second component was fuel surcharge. There are probably members of this council who understand we had a non-workable clause in the prior contract. The index it was based on doesn't exist anymore. There was no basis to make an evaluation on cost changes because the base, the index isn't there. We fortunately were able to come to an agreement with Bloom on wholesale prices that they pay for their long-term buying and use those receipts as a basis to get fuel surcharge money back to the city of Attleboro that was due to it. However, we needed something more fundamental than that in the new contract. So the fuel surcharge clause is new. It's based on their wholesale purchasing. It's assessed more regularly and will be, it won't go obsolete over the 5 years of the contract. So it's going to have the same effect. It's essentially an insurance against dramatic fuel movements. It's not supposed to kind of manage the more modest movements. If the more modest movements are unidirectional over the course of the 5 years, it may kick in because the cumulative effect would be there, but it's supposed to protect both sides from something substantial happening. Again, that insurance results in a more favorable per day cost for the buses. Otherwise, they'd have to speculate more broadly and we incur a bigger cost. We're putting some new equipment on the buses. We're going to have quad cameras on all of our regular buses. So historically, we had receptacles in each bus that were not populated with a camera. When we had a bus where there were behavior issues, we would get a camera and plug it in and record what's going on in that bus. Sometimes things happened behind seats that you couldn't see. There were certain aspects of the bus you couldn't see. So we were putting what's called quad cameras, one in every corner, have full visibility on the bus at all times during the year. These things, record a week or two of data, and if you have an event, you have it on film. So the other thing change is we're going to install scanners that'll work off of student IDs. So as a student boards the bus, they simply scan a card. It'll be a barcode or something like that. That scanner compiles the data of when the student got on the bus, when the student got off the bus, and we'll feed that data to the school to give us sort of an early attendance read on who is supposed to be in the building, and then we can check that against who's actually sitting in the seats. You can also, when mom and dad call and say Johnny didn't come home, we can tell them at what time and where Johnny got off the bus, assuming Johnny got on the bus. So we'll know that for sure due to the IDs. Yeah. So those are the big changes. We do have proposals for after-school activities. It's part of the summary, and part of the summary page, I believe, that the council has in the contract. There's multiple components of the cost for the year. So it's regular transportation, special needs transportation, late buses, what they call in-district or in-city extracurricular events, and then out-of-city extracurricular events. So they provide all of those services at a price posted on the contract.
Thank you, Mark. Any?
It's in regards to your motion, Mr. Chairman. Your motion is just for the term contract, not for the money.
That's right.
And the money comes through the city side, from the city side over to the school side. So you're going to rely on the budget to take care of the money side of the contract?
Yeah, because there's a lovely clause in the contract that says, it is understood and agreed that each year of this contract it is specifically contingent upon the appropriation of funds by the city and an earmarking of such funds by the school committee such as adequate to fund the individual contract year.
Perfect. Excellent. So you don't need to address it here. Good.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from For Mr. Furtado?
I hate to drink your water.
No. Mark, sorry to have
No,
you
no,
come in.
that's-
Sorry it
that's
went
fine.
later than we
Anytime.
thought it would be. And thank you for your quick response. Hearing no other questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Oh, no, I got to make the motion first. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to approve a 36-month transportation service agreement with H&L Bloom with 2 one-year renewals at the sole option of the school committee.
Second.
Thank you. One last call for any questions, comments, problems. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Again,
very much.
Mr. Furtado, thank you. I'm going to also note that Council President Cook is the third member of the committee tonight. From the docket of May 16th, 2017, I entertain a motion to transfer $114,740.34 from account 1124100-578360 Citywide Reserved Compensation 53rd Week to account 1124100-599000 Citywide Other Financing Uses, and to further transfer $114,740.34 from account 1124100-599000 Citywide Other Financing Uses to fund 34274999700. Thank you. Councilor Blair. So, the mayor sent a communication down to us regarding what this transfer was for. I'm going to read from the mayor respectfully submits a communication from Superintendent of Schools David Sawyer regarding the receipt of the Digital Connections Partnership Schools Grant and Loan Program, an initiative provided by a partnership between the Office of Digital Learning within the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the Massachusetts Department of Information Technology, and the nonprofit Education Superhighway. The award of this project is contingent upon a commitment of paying 60% of the total cost of the project, which amounts to $114,740.34, of which I have committed my support. The remaining 40% is funded by the grant. Therefore, the mayor requests we make the transfer. So, Mr. Furtado asked about this this evening. There is a timeline on it. I know that there were, in previous motions, some concern about the 53rd week. So I did ask Deb to stay, but we're not going there tonight unless someone insists. But again, we're not going there tonight. If you have a question about the 53rd week, ask it, but not tonight. This is about, do we think that this grant is an opportunity for the city? And I think that we all do. So I don't want to get wrapped up in a long discussion about the 53rd week, although I did ask Deb to stay if it went that way, but we're not going there. So this is an excellent opportunity for the schools to get 60% grant. We're paying 40%. The mayor has committed to it. The school is committed to it. And we are committing to it through this motion if we choose to go there, which I'm hoping we do. Any questions? Council Hall, I see your hand up.
Well, I think you said it right the first time, but I think the second time. So we're paying 60% of it, the grant's paying 40%, if I'm not mistaken.
The award of this project is contingent upon a commitment of paying 60%. You're right. I think the first time I said 60,
did.
the second I said 40.
Good, you're fine, yeah.
Thank you. It is.
I know, it's been that one.
It's been that kind of day. Any other questions, comments, problems? Good, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, motion passes. I entertain a motion to transfer $1,422 from account 112410000-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 161-01000-532-010 Public Library Tuition and Books to cover tuition and books for a full-time staff member has been approved to take courses next semester beginning in June and finishing in August 2017 and are eligible for reimbursement according to contract agreement Article 21, Section 1.
Second.
Thank you, Council Blair. So this is pretty self-explanatory. It's in the contract. We have to pay. The money has to be there. Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. That concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services. However, I'm anticipating having an update on Angel Park, not next week, because that's a full council meeting, the following week for the committee meeting, that I think puts us in a better place. So now, the business for Personnel and Human Services is, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes, we are adjourned 8:46. Thank you.
You had 3 motions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to call the Budget and Appropriations Committee to order. Why I am calling this to order is you received the budget meetings. I do understand there could be conflicts. I actually had to find a substitute teacher so I could be here. I thought it'd be appropriate that the chair of the committee be here too. So I do understand there could be any conflicts, and I do understand, and thank you for those who had already told me. Peter, I know you said you'd be here no matter what, and a couple other people, and Jay, as you know, works sometimes. So thank you for everything, but you're always, no, it's just hard sometimes when you have to, you're in charge and you have to be there. So thank you for always saying that you'd be here too, if appropriate. For the beginning, it's going to start on the 11th. What I did is I did ask any counselors or input from department heads. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Barry Lacasse. Because he always goes above and beyond during the budget process to help. And also Ken Owens, he had finished drafting it up. So in all the department heads, I only had one conflict. So by cutting out all the middlemen and just dealing directly, there was no issues. Only one conflict, I'll take care of that, and everything else is good. And as I said, if you have any questions, if you can't be here, please feel free to have me and I'll ask them. And then what I was thinking is getting these in, that's why I was starting at the 11th, go to the 22nd, make sure we have enough time. That way we have questions for the department heads. And then if you have any cuts, I'm not gonna squash any ideas in committee. If you have a question, please ask, so that way when we do come to the point of the whole council, obviously parliamentary procedure, anyone can make an amendment, but let's talk about it, have discussion. I'm more than happy if you even have a proposed that you're gonna do on the floor. Feel free to ask, let's see what the repercussions will be of that cut. Any other questions, comments, or anything on that? Okay, I just wanted to give you an FYI on that. I'm holding this because we don't have our the meeting yet for the budget. We haven't had all our meetings, so I'm holding the motion that I have in here until after we have all our hearings, FYI. Okay, I'd like to call for an adjournment at 8:48.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned. I'm just going to do the public works also for Kate, if you don't mind. No. Okay, thank you for always being so polite. Thank you. I'd like to call the Committee on Public Works to order at 8:48 p.m. And also, again, deepest sympathies to Kate's mom. For the motion, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $5,000 from account 6100578300 Water Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund, to account 6100-517155 Water Enterprise Fund, PDP MedRx, to medical account for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Second.
Thank you. I do have 2 members present too, but thank you. So I have a second on that. For the backup, the personnel department had let them know that they need to fund this account for the remainder of the year. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, so Mr. Blair and Mr. Delicio are on my committee, correct?
No, it's actually Council
I'm sorry, I got confused there.
Council Hall.
Counselor Hall, okay, we do have Hall. Okay, thank you. I was wondering why, I was like, well, you guys are always very diligent. I entertain a motion, when Mark's, like Cooper says, it hits 8:30 and then it starts going down. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to transfer $4,000 from account 6000-578300 Wastewater Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund, to account 6000-517155 Water Enterprise Fund, PDP MedRx, to a medical account for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Same as the previous motion. As you know, they're enterprise funds, so we have to do them separately. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Cook and Ms. Hall. For the last motion from the docket of May 2nd, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request that the Attleboro Municipal Council approve the grant of the permanent drainage easement to the city of Attleboro and the associated release deed to WB Construction for the property that the city no longer requires due to the reduced side of the drainage easement.
Second.
Thank you for the backup material. And I had gone over it to look on the map where it was located. It's right where the Commerce Way and Tiffany Streets meet. Or if you're coming down Tiffany, right at the point between the Tiffany and Commerce Way. And it says, said easement, drainage easement contains 2,179 square feet, more or less, according to the said plan. It is, I'm only not reading the whole memo, just some outlined, underlined issues that I thought I would disclose. It being understood and agreed that this easement shall run with the land and be binding upon the grantor and its successors and assigns. So this will be understood that the easement runs with the land and if it's sold, right? The grantors reserve the right to use the easement area for the flow and drainage from its other land in the vicinity in the easement area, provided that any such use by the grantors or the successors shall not interfere with or negatively impact the rights of the city of Attleboro to use the easement area in accordance with the rights given. And this would be, as I said, northerly Commerce Way, easterly Lot 13, southerly Lot 13, and westerly by Tiffany Street. So right where Tiffany and Commerce. I just wanted to mention those points. Were there any other points you wanted to make, Constable Hall? No? Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. For the Committee on Public Works, I would like to call for an adjournment at 8:53 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Say aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'd like to call the Committee on City Property and Claims to order at 8:53. And I have 3 motions. From the docket of May 16th, 2017, I entertain a motion in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of one used Kenmore electric range, model number 790.924020013, and one used Kenmore cold spot refrigerator, model number 106.412-62801, with a total estimated value of $400 from an anonymous donor to the 12+/MDAP programs at Attleboro High School.
Second.
Any questions, concerns?
What is the MDAP program?
God, you'd have to ask me. I knew I should have.
It doesn't matter, I'm in favor of it.
It's,
It's just being a brat.
no, but it's the, is it the medical, is it medical assistant?
No.
No, it's, oh my goodness, what, you can ask Pete, are you asking him what it means?
No.
I can't remember. I think it's the programs that are,
It's it's one of the vote programs.
yeah, the, what did you call it?
It's a vote, one of the vote
The vote,
programs.
at the vote, yeah. I don't know what MDAP.
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive high school.
Yes,
one of the
but
vote
that's not,
programs.
I don't know what the MDAP, but it is a
Sorry, I
vote
asked the
program.
Mark just left.
That's what's the word I was looking for, voc, the vocational school. It has to do with the vocational school.
Okay.
Will that satisfy?
It
Mr.
does.
Conti? I should know that you ask these things, and I should be prepared. But I knew it was a vocational program, but then lost my mind and couldn't think of the word. So, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, President Cook, too. That motion passes. I entertain a motion in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to accept the donation of one lilac tree to be planted in Capron Park in memory of Pauline Arena, donated by James Arena and Denise Bigda, with a value of $50.
Second.
Thank you. Any concerns, questions? Are you sure, Mr. Conti?
Well,
Don't.
You opened up the gate.
I know.
don't open up the door.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the mayor's request to declare the following water department items as surplus and available for disposition: 12 damaged fire hydrants and associated parts.
Second.
Thank you. Any concerns or questions regarding that? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. So that is all the motions I have this evening on the Committee of City Property and Claims, and I would like to request a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? I'll
Aye.
adjourn.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll adjourn at 8:56. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That comes from the man.
Mark, once it hits 8:30, I start getting a little, I finished my budget and then I was doing Public Works and I'm like, my members are here.
I'm looking at you going, MDAP, what does it stand for? Mass Department Associated Press. That's what was coming to my mind. I said, I knew it was the VOC program, vocational, but I could not get, I couldn't think of the word.
Approaching 9 o'clock, nothing but hard work.
10 offices? So we were wrong last week, huh?
They're 2,700, right?
First.
Right, so 27,000 he needs in total.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Peter, you're up.
Yeah, I know. I had read this last week, and I was confused, and I even asked Councilor Cooper, and he said, no way, but it is right. From the docket of May 16, reporting for Public Safety Emergency Manager, from the docket of May 16, 2017, I entertain a motion to transfer $27,000 from account 1210100-514020, police night differential, to account 1210100-558310, police uniform, to purchase motorcycle uniforms for those police officers who are qualified and trained to operate the motorcycles.
Second.
Okay, last week when I read it, I went, wow. And I misinterpreted the backup, because it's $2,700 per officer, and there's 10 officers qualified, so it is $27,000. Any comments or questions? Yes?
Thank you, and I just want to say thank you to that motorcycle brigade, and they do go and represent us.
Oh, I know
in
they do.
different, whether it be funerals, parades, or they always represent, and it's nice that we do have such a respected police honor guard also, so I will be supporting this when it comes out.
I was surprised myself that we had 10 police officers. I know at one time we didn't have anywhere near that number. So, yeah, they do a great job, and it adds to the character of the city. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the docket of May 16, 2017, I entertain a motion in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request to expend approximately $4,990.61 in FFY 2017 Underage Alcohol Enforcement Grant Fund sponsored by the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Highway and Safety Division, and any future grant amendments by the Attleboro Police Department.
Second.
Again, I want to thank those that write the grants, and I'm sure this money will be used very well to secure the underage drinking and the purchase of underage people in Attleboro, the ability to purchase strictly enforced. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of May 16, 2017, I entertain a motion in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to approve the mayor's request that the municipal council accept the FFY 16 Edward Bryan Memorial Justice Assistant Grant through the New Bedford Police Department and the U.S. Department of Justice grant and approve expending of approximately $10,611 in grant funds and any future grant amendments by the Attleboro Police Department. No match is required by the City of Attleboro, and the funds must be extended no later than September 30th, 2019. There is no match required for this grant.
Second.
Again, I'd like to thank the grant writers over at the police department for their wonderful job in getting that money in order for us to expend it in a proper way. Any questions or comments? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I have no other business this evening. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.
This is 17 and 18.